Good afternoon. I'm John Walters. I'm Senior Vice President and Chief Operating Officer here at Hudson. Let me welcome you to the Betsy and Walter Stern Conference Center on behalf of Hudson Institute, Ken Weinstein, our President and CEO, and on behalf of the Bradley Center for Philanthropy and Civic Renewal, led by Bill Shambra. We're glad you all could be here. We're honored to have as today's guest Governor Mitch Daniels. Of course, no stranger to Hudson. He led us in the past and still went on to be an enormously important national leader and, of course, not only governor but creative policymaker for our nation. We're very honored to have him back here. About a year ago that he was in Washington, we were given the opportunity to honor him. He tells the story of how he was punished for telling the truth during that in this book. So I'll let him
some part. This book is addresses itself to folks who see the world more or less as I do and suggests it won't be enough to win the next election. It won't be enough to be the default option, which, for all I know, may be enough to win. Next year ought to be a year to assume the best about the American people, to try to summon it forth, to try to level with the American people and trust that they are able both to understand and to handle and to make reasonable conclusions based on the truths that they deserve to be told. The real goal of the next 14 months ought to be to unify as many people as possible around a program of big change. That's major changes in the safety net programs, at least starting out in time, total commitment to growth. If you believe, as the Bradley Center does, as I do, that the private realms is where, or the whole reason that we have government, that we have government based on self-governance, then you would also agree that the best way out of our current dilemma is rapid resurrection of growth in the private sector, as hard as that's going to prove to be. I believe, and at least I choose to believe, that these things are possible. It's been well written that democracy is and always was a leap of faith. But great enterprises have faith at their center always. And I, for one, see the stretch ahead of us starting, but only starting, with a new national decision next year as a huge opportunity, not only to fortify the American promise, arrest the economic slide that we've been on, but beyond that to validate the whole idea of government of and by the people for the history that's to be written the rest of this century.
Nonetheless, and I think the book gives you a sense, an inside view of how government should really be. Takes a lot of sort of high-profile issues, the selling off of a road in Indiana, other things, and really shows why they're just sensible. And I think you get the spirit not of a conservatism that is abstract, but a conservatism that is concrete and context-driven and really pragmatic. So I thought the book reflected the man perfectly well. Nonetheless, I'll try to pick a fight on two big subjects. The first is philosophical on the subject of our betters. The Democrats, he says, have a faith that the public needs protection, and they're there to do that. There's a lot of truth to that. I would say the Obama administration has a great faith in the ability of intelligent experts to organize the world. The IPAB thing for the healthcare reform, there's a general sense that if you get the smartest people in the room together, they will be able to create a solution, organize a plan, and plan society. And so I very much take Governor Daniels' critique of that to heart. Conservatism is based on the idea of epistemological modesty, that we can't know much about the world, and therefore we should devolve solutions to the lowest possible level. The only thing I'd say to add on to that, and maybe is in tension with it, is the people are no great shakes either. It is nonetheless true, and I think Governor Daniels, like most elected officials who have won election, is too generous toward where the people are. It is true that countries rise and fall based on the moral stature of the country. And that moral stature can rise and fall depending on circumstances. And sometimes it's up to government and a leadership class to lead it in one direction or another, to serve as the education of the country.
Let me begin by ticking off an incomplete list of elements of this book that I found very agreeable. The focus on vigorous economic growth, amen. The injunction to be guided in our discussions by the facts. One line in the book, this conclusion is not ideological but mathematical. Words repeated almost verbatim by the President of the United States not too long ago. If we can get on the plane where we are talking about the facts and their implications, I think we'd be better off. The governor's insistence on putting first things first, focusing on what really matters right now, and, as he put it famously, declaring a truce on other differences. Again, amen. The idea of principled safety net reform, more means testing, adjusting age and eligibility requirements, adjustments to indexation formulas, the focus on real insurance as opposed to first dollar coverage for everything. There's room for serious discussion on all of those points.